Para Maite Rodríguez, mi tocallita, que murió en la tierra linda de Uvalde, donde yo también jugaba de niña. I dedicate this to Maite Rodríguez, María Esther. We call a person with our same name Tocayo. She's my little tocallito who passed away in a beautiful land called Uvalde, where I also played when I was a child her age. When I was little, my younger brother Eduardo and I shared a special terror about a creature named Spring-Heeled Jack who knocked on doors at night. When someone answered, he would spit fire in their face and then he would disappear into the night by leaping over gates and rooftops. The story was in our favorite book, Strange Stories and Amazing Facts. The victim's descriptions of Spring-Heeled Jack's glowing red eyes made us shiver, and we swore that if we ever heard a knock late at night, we wouldn't let anyone open the door, not even Papi. To make it more dreadful for ourselves, we would read the book at bedtime. When we were sufficiently terrified, we would push our twin beds together and Rochambeau to see who would have to turn out the light and try to make it back into bed before the monsters grabbed them. Once the lights were off, we would make sure to hide under our covers and made sure that our feet touched each other's so that if something horrible dragged one of us away, the other could feel the movement and wake up. Eduardo didn't know it, but there was a worse boogeyman that kept me up at night. I had overheard grown-ups talk about how young men had been drafted to fight in the Vietnam War. Even though the war was over by this time, the idea of a draft became a sort of super monster to me. My three brothers were my world. What was this force that had the power to snatch them away? It made my blood run cold. And yet, when daylight came, my brothers and I would play war with bags of little green army men. We would set them up in different formations and shoot at each other's armies with rubber bands. We especially loved to play hand-to-hand combat, taking turns wearing our one prized plastic gladiator outfit that came with a helmet, chest plate, shield, and sword. And laundry days were especially exciting. We would dig out all the socks from the mounds of clean clothes and carefully roll them into tight wads to use as cannonballs. And then we would set up forts around the apartment and turn our home into something out of Duck Soup, our favorite Marx Brothers movie. My father had served in the Air Force and would regale us with stories of his time in Reykjavik, Iceland. We loved it when he would show us black and white pictures of himself as a young man, looking rayfish, standing next to a motorcycle in front of the barracks, or working on what looked like transistors inside a large airplane hangar. Now that he was a father, he would turn us into ersatz soldiers at dinner time by marching us to the table to the beat of a cheerful military tune. A comer, soldaditos de papel. Time for dinner, little paper soldiers. Sometimes, my father would sing a traditional children's song from Mexico about a young man named Mambrú who went to war that would stop me in my tracks. The song goes way back to the 1700s by way of France and Spain. Mambrú se fue a la guerra. Qué dolor, qué pena. Mambrú se fue a la guerra. ¿Quién sabe si volverá? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. ¿Quién sabe si volverá? Mambrú went to war. What a shame. What sorrow. Who knows if he'll come back? In the song, they wait for Mamru to come home. Maybe he'll be home for Easter. No? Well, then maybe he'll be home by the Trinity. Time passes, and eventually he does come back in a casket. The song made me feel a sorrow that was beyond my years. The melancholy it dredged up came from such a deep and knowing place that, looking back, I wonder if it wasn't a genetic memory. It was too much for my child heart to bear, and the agony would gush out of me in tearful, secret prayers for my brothers. I have a son who will be 21 in July. When he was born, I couldn't believe how big his feet were. I would hold them in my hands like big warm tamales and laugh. When he was a toddler, he loved it when I would lay on the floor and bounce him on my shins while I sang The Noble Duke of York. When Russia first attacked the Ukraine and Zelensky announced that all men 18 to 60 were banned from leaving the country, I felt the old familiar panic begin to rise in my chest. On the news, I watched as gentle men, unaccustomed to fighting, awkwardly held their newly assigned weapons. I am finding it harder and harder to push down my sense of alarm. The drums of war are breaking through like a dreadful knock in the night. I wish I could make them go away. I wish all I had to do was whisper, "Don't open the door, mijo." I wish I could turn out the lights and cocoon next to him under our old familiar blankets, our feet touching like steadfast troopers keeping vigil until morning light. It's Memorial Day. I hold in my heart all of the beloved young people who have answered the call or have been in the way and been lost to us.